go for launch.
5.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
Anything can happen in the next half hour.
4.
My friend, we cannot keep this a secret any longer.
This whole thing is insane.
3.
Quiet, please. I am analyzing.
Where's the kaboom?
2.
There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
1.
Kids, get your popcorn now. Let me tell you the story of the space Viking, Thor Odinson. He was no ordinary man. He was a god. After saving planet Earth for the 500th time, Thor set off on a new journey. Well, he got in shape. He went from dad bod to god bod. And after all that, he reclaimed his title as the one and only Thor. Oh, spoke too soon.
Jane? The old ex-girlfriend.
What's it been, like 3, 4 years?
8 years, 7 months and 6 days, give or take.
Am I, sensing feelings?
Well, you're right.
The only ones who gods care about is themselves.
So this is my vow. All gods will die. I just want to say that was very, very impressive what you did back there.
He's just my first bad guy.
You never forget your first.
You are not like the other gods of kill.
Because I have something worth fighting for.
Let's see who you are. I take off your disguise. And flick.
Oh, you flicked too hard, damn it!
Should we help him?
I mean, eventually. Grape.
Greetings, my fellow galactic travelers, and welcome back to Planet 8. This is your Mission Commander Larry speaking to you from our hidden base. Chief Engineer Bob is here by my side as always in the command center, and circling Planet 8 in our orbital spy satellite is Reconnaissance Officer Karen.
And on this episode of Planet 8, kids, we're bringing down the love and we're bringing down the thunder. We're going to be talking about Thor, Love and Thunder. So, spoiler alert, we're going to spoil the heck out of this movie, and we're probably going to lay out a couple of turds on it, too. Straight away, let's kick it up to Bob. What did you think of the movie, Chief?
Well, eat my hammer. Now, that could have many different connotations, but, I think, and we kind of talked about this before, I think once Guardians of the Galaxy hit, and I love Guardians of the Galaxy, I love that movie, but ever since that movie hit, the whole MCU kind of took a left turn towards the zany. And the more it goes on, especially Thor, the more kind of wacky it gets. And so I think I've said it on the show before, I like Ragnarok, but I thought the humor was kind of out of place. Some of it was okay, but but now Love and Thunder, the humor's like ramped up to 11 on this one. And even when they have a serious moment, they got to throw in something humorous or a little kind of side thing. And so, I don't know. Christian Bale, I thought, did a great job as Gorr, the God-Butcher. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, whenever I hear Butcher, I think about The Boys. and Carl Urban, but as the God-Butcher, I thought, he was a good performance. He did a good job. I think the other side of the spectrum, way on the other side of the spectrum, would be Russell Crowe as Zeus. Doing it with Zeus is a Greek god, right? And he's doing it with like a bad Italian accent. It was poor, very poor. But, if you go into it expecting a zany comedy, or as Taika Waititi said, a rom-com, romantic comedy, then, you probably enjoy it. I mean, people around us in the theater seem to enjoy it. I went with Debbie and Michael and Lucas, and they all enjoyed it. But like I said, I guess if you go in and just kind of turn your mind off and you don't, quote, take it seriously, then maybe you could probably enjoy it. But, way back when I used to collect comic books, way back in the olden days, at one point, it was like, I can't read all these comics. I can't afford all these comics. I got to cut it down. So I cut it down to 2 characters. One was Spider-Man, because he had like a comic out every week between Amazing and Spectacular and Web of and Marvel Team Up and whatever. And the other one was Thor. I stuck with Thor because I really liked that character. So to kind of see him kind of being parodied in all these movies, it's kind of rough. But I know Karen has some opinions as well.
Take it away, Walker.
Well, it's very disappointing to me. I could get more explicit than that.
Please.
No, I mean, to kind of tag on to Bob's statement. Yeah, I was a big Thor fan as a kid. The beauty of Thor was like Thor could be, one issue on Earth fighting the Wrecking Crew. Then he could be in Asgard the next issue. He could be in outer space. Thor could be doing any and all of it. He could be with the Avengers. There was always like all these great possibilities with Thor. Always exciting adventures and stuff. And Thor also had, he was sort of this somber character, and the goofy character was like Hercules. Hercules would show up in Thor and be kind of this goofball character
Bravado.
To bounce off of. What's that?
He had bravado.
Yeah, to bounce off Thor and stuff. And I sort of feel like, they, like Bob said, they found like, humor is, a big seller for us. Chris Hemsworth wanted to do humor, and he does have a talent for humor, which is undeniable. But I just think they took that needle and they just pushed it all the way over to the right, and there's no room for a more serious character, which is a shame because you can see some of that serious character in this movie. I feel like there's sort of, it's a very uneven film for me because there are these serious parts. You got somebody like Christian Bale, who's a really good actor, and he's playing this very serious character who's motivated out of grief. He's lost his people and specifically lost his daughter. He was praying to his God, to save them. Then he finds out, his God doesn't care about them, and he's overcome with grief and rage, and that's what motivates him, right? And it's very serious kind of thing. And then you've got this other storyline with Jane, and she's got cancer, and she's dying, and, becomes the Mighty Thor, and then Thor as a character has gone through all this stuff in the films, which, if taken seriously, is really tragic. He's lost his parents, his brother, his friends, his planet was destroyed, all this other stuff, right? So should be in a situation where he's grieving and stuff, but it's just all played for laughs, and I don't mind some humor in the films. I think it's important to have some humor. But, 20% would be great, but they just push it over to like 90%. And the problem is it also feels really forced because it sort of feels like oh, Ragnarok was great and it was funny and lots of people liked it, so we'll do that again. You know what it reminds me of is when Star Trek 4 came out. As people will recall, the one with the whales. So Star Trek 4 comes out, and it's kind of goofy and funny, and people can relate to it. And it's like, oh, I like this Star Trek thing. I remember that movie. It was funny. So when Star Trek 5 comes out, and admittedly, Star Trek 5 had a lot of issues, but one of the things they forced on Star Trek 5 was to insert a lot of humor that didn't necessarily belong there. And so you have, things like Scotty walking into a beam and knocking himself unconscious and other stupid stuff in the film. And I just feel like the forced humor, it just doesn't work. It has to flow. So yeah, I don't know what their concept is of the character, what they want to do with him, other than just, shits and giggles. And it's a shame.
Well, at the end of the credits, it does say Thor will return.
Yeah, and I'm sure that, if they do another Avengers, they'll bring him back.
Well, I hope to God the next Thor movie is called Thor Shits and Giggles, because I'll be first in line. That's my kind of movie.
Well, what did you think of it? What did you think of it, Larry?
I did not love it. But, I need to watch a film a couple of times to really get a feel for it. I think it was unbalanced as well. Going from the tragedy of the God Killer, of Christian Bale's character, and, the love sequence of like how Thor and Jane broke up and he told Mjolnir to, watch over her, and turns out that Mjolnir is more of like an ex-lover or a pet or something. I don't know. That to me was kind of irritated me.
It was kind of funny at first. Just the fact that Stormbreaker was getting jealous of Mjolnir and all that. But yeah, they just kept going with it. Yeah. Again, they just got to beat it to death. Him doing the splits to stop the aliens in the beginning of the movie, that was kind of funny. The temple collapsing, I'm like, that's when it lost me that, the God of Thunder doesn't do stuff like that. That's a Guardians thing, and I think
they're idiots.
Right. And, admittedly so. And it works for them. It works for that franchise. A lot of people think that the first Thor movie was just too serious, and the second one was even more
serious. So it did have humor in it.
Yeah.
Well, it had that 20% or less amount of humor.
True.
And I think when Taika
Waititi.
Yeah. It almost seems to me, and not an exact ripoff of What We Do in the Shadows, but it does have that kind of like wink, wink, tongue in cheek kind of aspect to it. Not that they ever break the fourth wall in the film, but some of the humor is just absurd.
Right. It's absurdist. That's what I was thinking. It's absurdist humor, and I don't know it's totally appropriate. I lost my train of thought. Okay.
I'm not a fan of the Venom films by any stretch of the imagination. And those damn things are making like hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office. And so I talked to my nieces and nephews, they're, in their 20s and 30s, and they love those movies. But granted, they love Jar Jar Binks also. So
yeah.
Who was the movie made for? What was it? 143 million domestically this weekend?
Well, it's made like 290 million worldwide, I think.
Worldwide, okay. So,
but the budget for the movie was like 250 million. So,
yeah,
make almost double that to break even. And we talked about this earlier, but let's see how it does in the second week. I'm just curious to see, because a lot of that will be word of mouth. And if people come out and they say, oh, yeah, it was fantastic, you got to see it, then we'll see a good second week. And if people are like, it wasn't that great, then we'll see a dip. So I'm really curious.
So, yeah, I was kind of thinking back on the MCU and the tone of the movies and all that. And I'm thinking, three directors. I'll see four because one is like two directors. But I'm thinking, for me, the best films out of the MCU have basically come from the Russo brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got James Gunn, who is doing the Guardian movies. And that's just kind of like right on that hairy edge of too much humor.
Yeah.
But it's still, it's fit because they were established as those kind of characters. And then Taika Waititi's just off the scale. Now, he's a good comedic director. I mean, if you look at like Jojo Rabbit, or if you look at, What We Do in the Shadows or whatever, it's not that he has a lack of talent and that he's not good. I just don't think he's made for these movies.
Well, it's interesting, too, because he did, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 episodes of Mandalorian. And I don't think he got, it didn't feel, I think he did that one where they were the siege in the bar. And, I wouldn't consider any of those really over the top. So I don't know if it's a matter of having somebody there who's kind of restraining what he can do. I
think they took the reins off for this movie.
Yeah, he also co-wrote this.
Free reign to do whatever he want.
Yeah, he co-wrote this as well. And another thing I wonder, too, is that, so we see this kind of zaniness with the Guardians and with Thor, and I just wonder if they feel like maybe viewers can't accept, well, I'm kind of shooting this down as I think about it. What I was going to say is maybe viewers can't accept these big cosmic kind of movies in a serious way, so they put the humor in it. But then they did Eternals. But then again, Eternals wasn't that popular. So maybe they do feel like, oh, we need to make fun of it and kind of make it silly for people to accept these. Because like at the end of the movie, and spoiler, they have the cosmic entity Eternity, who is, the physical embodiment of sort of the universe, sitting there, and it looks just like the way Steve Ditko drew it in the comics.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. There are aspects of this movie that I like. I will say that. I'm not totally down on it. If I had to rate it from 1 to 10, it would probably be a 5-ish, because there are things in it that I enjoy, but as an overall story, I don't, because of all the humor and stuff, I don't care for it. But like, they put in stuff like Eternity and all this other stuff. And I just wonder if sometimes they feel like, oh, we've got to, just keep spooning them all this goofy stuff so that we can put all this weird, over the top cosmic stuff in it for them to get through. I don't know.
I think Chris Hemsworth and Taika really have a oddball sense of humor. That's one of the things I've read in stories that bonded, was their sense of humor, and they wanted to really just blow this movie up. Thor, Chris wasn't going to come back unless Taika was in it, and Taika wasn't going to come back unless Hemsworth was in it, and they both signed up. They got pay raises, as Hollywood often does, and then they ended up coming up with Love and Thunder. Now, I will say, piggybacking on Bob's comment, I love the first Iron Man film, and I think there was a good amount of humor in there. There was a good amount of sorrow. Him becoming Iron Man and as Yusuf, his friend Yusuf. There was good drama. Elements of humor in the right places at the right time, so as not to make it into a rom-com. We were talking about this before we started recording. I didn't like Iron Man 2 when it first came out. I really didn't like that. And Iron Man 3, even worse when that came out. Fun fact here, kids. Walker had come out to see Iron Man 3, and the whole weekend was predicated on us going to see the film 2 and 3 times, possibly. And after that first viewing, nobody wanted to see it anymore. And we were like trying to figure out, well, what do we do now?
I think I did not want to see it. I almost wanted to walk out that first viewing. I thought you guys were okay with seeing it again. So I kind of threw a wrench.
I was okay with seeing it again if you guys, because what I will say too is after rewatching 2 and 3 on DVD, I appreciate those films more. I still can't stand Thor 2 Dark World. I don't like that movie.
So I didn't really mind that one.
What's that, bud?
I didn't really mind Thor 2.
I can't stand that movie, and I don't. I can't get into the Eternals. I have tried, and I can't. That being said, like Walker, I did not hate this movie. With the music and stuff and the kid, I'd probably give it more like a 6.5, maybe a 7 if I see it a second time. And
I think seeing it a second time and kind of knowing what to expect going in, yes, it doesn't hit you the way it does, but yeah. And I don't know. Yeah, I think one problem that we had as a family was the whole, and I know this is out of the comic and this is part of the character and whatever, but the whole cancer thing with Jane. Because we've just gone through that for the last year. So
yeah,
that was kind of rough. Kind of the same way, like, I can't watch that first Planet of the Apes of the 3 new ones. Was it like Rise and Dawn and War? I can't watch the first one because of the whole Alzheimer's angle of it. So I don't know. It's like,
yeah, I did feel the whole cancer thing to me was a little bit handled too lightly. And you would think somebody who worked on it, there's so many people either have cancer or know somebody who has cancer. And to me, kind of sitting there, it's been years since I dealt with mine, but it was like, geez, this seems a little like they're treating it a little too lightly in the film in a way, or else it was just counterbalanced with too much like jokey, zany kind of stuff.
Well, see, the whole thing with Jane Foster becoming Thor, that happened long after I stopped reading comics. So in the comic, was there that angle where the more she uses Mjolnir, the more she becomes susceptible to the cancer?
I wasn't reading it, but from what I understand, she had to stop using it because it was worsening her cancer. So they were pretty true, I think, to the situation in the comics. But she, I think for a few years, was Thor in the comics, and was an Avenger and all sorts of stuff. So they truncated that situation.
So was she Thor along with Thor, or was it she was Thor and that was it?
I think a little of both. For a period of time, he was unworthy and he couldn't lift Mjolnir. So he was just like Thor Odinson. And he left his hammer on the moon, I believe. And then she somehow was transported there and got it and became the Mighty Thor. And then at some point, I think I don't know if he got a hammer substitute or what, but he was also running around, so...
And then we have like Beta Ray Bill and everybody else, right?
Oh, there's so many people running around with stuff.
No, but Beta Ray Bill, I read the story. That was a good story. He verily deserved that hammer. Look, they had the Thor Corps. Everyone and their mama was a Thor at one time in the Marvel comic books.
Well, somebody was saying on Facebook, they're asking, could Superman lift the hammer? Not because of the strength, but is he worthy?
I think he did in one of the JLA Avenger crossovers. I think there was a scene where he had the shield and a hammer, or maybe that was something George Perez just drew for the crossover that didn't happen. I don't know. But I mean, I think, if Cap could do it.
Somebody was saying the new Superman couldn't, but Christopher Reeve's Superman could.
Oh, God.
But, I mean, if you think Superman, he could probably lift it. Batman, I doubt, could lift it.
No.
No.
He's kind of on the other end of the spectrum.
Wonder Woman lift it.
Probably. Oh, this just gets too complicated.
Aquaman?
No. I was a little surprised about the brevity of the Guardians of the Galaxy appearance in this. I thought there would be a little bit more. My understanding, though, from some things I've seen, like even in the trailers, there are definitely scenes that didn't make it into the movie, and it feels like a lot of scenes maybe that didn't make it into the film.
I did think it was funny where Nebula was trying to kill the goats. They had the goats on the ship, and it's just like, get out of my way, I'm going to kill those things.
Yeah. So, it's kind of curious that they were in the film only briefly.
I will say I need to go back and watch Endgame because I forget what happened to Gamora.
Well, she was from the past, right? She was from the past, and she seemed to just sort of slip away somewhere. So,
she kind of went her own way somehow.
Just went somewhere.
Okay. Get back into space?
After kicking Star-Lord in the nuts.
Yeah, because the past Nebula was shot, and then the new Nebula, or current... Anyway,
current Nebula, I think, is the one that's back. But it was the past Gamora that was now the present Gamora, wherever
so
she is.
She never had any relationship with Peter Quill or the other Guardians.
Right.
I'm sure she'll factor into the next movie, but...
Lady Sif was back.
Yes.
Very briefly.
Well, not all of her.
Well...
all but her arm was back.
I'm sure that they can replace that somehow, somewhere.
That's another issue I had, though, is she was so underused. I mean, pretty much just in name to bring her into the film for a couple of minutes here and there, and then...
Mm-hmm. It kind of answers the question, though. Was she, people wondered, well, was she on Asgard when it was destroyed? And where was she? And apparently
it was kind of like, where was she during the whole Thanos thing and all that? Mm-hmm. Bucky might have an extra arm she could borrow.
I will say, one of the things that I really missed in this movie was the Loki character. He's really an integral part of these films, in my opinion. He works well off of, that tension between he and Thor.
Yeah.
Well, was this like the first movie Thor was in that Loki was not?
I mean, maybe Endgame Loki wasn't in there because he died.
Well, he got killed at the very beginning. Or no, he got killed.
Avengers 2.
Right. But I believe so. The solo Thor films, this is the first one without Loki.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. That dynamic between the two of them has been, a very entertaining one over...
I mean, Loki's off doing his own thing, and Thor doesn't know he's alive, or that there's a version of him alive, right?
There's a version of a variant. And I will say, too, that that's the humor that really balanced out well, was the banter between Loki and Thor. I could handle stuff like that. One of my favorite scenes ever is in Avengers when, Cap's going to jump out of the plane and Black Widow's like, Cap, I don't know, those are gods. Well, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't know what kind of gods you're talking about, but I don't think that's the Almighty. And he jumps out there, to break up the fight between Iron Man and Thor.
I think he says, like, there's only one and he doesn't dress like that or something.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, that to me was okay,
Well, see, that was always the Marvel humor in the comic books, was the comments that the heroes would make.
Mm-hmm.
Not Captain America accidentally hitting himself in the head with the shield, but just like a sideways comment, and off they go. And, and of course, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, he would use humor just to diffuse his fear of fighting these villains that were stronger than him, and he'd use humor to kind of catch them off guard and get them mad, and then they'd make a mistake, and then he'd get the upper hand. But so that just kind of became his personality.
Right. And in the films, I mean, that classic scene of Hulk just beating the heck out of Loki at the end of Avengers, I am a god, you are whack, whack, whack. Or when Hulk bashes Thor,
That was sort of the beginning of the slapstick, I think.
Well,
that's kind of the Joss Whedon type humor, though, you got in that.
I mean, you can do a little of that, and it's effective. But then when you have a film where you've got stuff like that going on all the time, Thor tries to do the Bifrost, and then he winds up, falling on his butt outside. Right. And things like that. It's just sort of over and over. If they had been trying to do something with Thor where they were trying to show that he was a goofball or whatever, that it was some sort of facade because he was, he was really grieving and feeling torn up or something, that would be one thing. But they were just half the movie, he's this enormous goofball. And then the other half, when he goes after Gorr in that, the realm of darkness or whatever. I mean, that was a really cool fight where he's going after him and he's, and then Thor is highly competent. And then, he's a great warrior again and everything. And then the other half of the time, he's falling on his ass. So it's, I don't know.
And then not to make excuses, but that was Fat Thor in Endgame. I mean, the beginning of Endgame, he's overweight, drinking beer, playing, I don't know, Xbox or PlayStation, and it was just this jokey, thing, and then at the end of the game he's wielding, Stormbringer and Mjolnir, and and then you kind of feel sorry for him because there's this post-traumatic stress, and it really drives home. He lost his mother. He never got to say goodbye to his mother through the time travel he did, and then it goes back to Thor fat jokes again. So. Again, not to make an excuse, but they already started dumbing up Thor way before.
I know. I've been unhappy about this for a few movies now. So it's not just. I was going to say almost for as long as the new Star Trek film or TV shows have been on Paramount. Well, don't get me started. Don't get me started. I'm going to pull out my Twitter and go crazy. So
I want to ask you guys, when are we doing Strange New World podcast? I guess we're not. Okay, never mind.
But I mean, it does this kind of stuff. I am a little concerned about Phase 4 because other than. I mean, the Spider-Man film was good. I liked the Doctor Strange film.
I thought Shang-Chi was good.
It was pretty good, but I thought it really kind of slipped in. It slipped into the same thing that a lot of the films do. Is the third act then has to be this huge bombastic thing, whereas it could have just been a fight between Shang-Chi and his dad, and that would have been the best way for it to end, but instead we get this giant dragons and all these armies of monsters and stuff, and it's just every Marvel movie has to have this enormous giant threat at the end, and I don't know, it's just too formulaic.
I didn't have a problem with the Shang-Chi monster stuff at the end. Sorry,
I like monsters.
My bar is kind of low.
I like kung fu and monsters, so it's all down.
And dynamite. But
right.
I mean, I looking over the films that have come out, Black Widow was kind of and it was too late. They should have done it before. And then Shang-Chi was pretty good, but then Eternals, like you guys said, there's things I liked about Eternals, but it was, I don't know, it felt very disconnected from the MU. MCU. Spider-Man was pretty good. Doctor Strange was pretty good. This film, I feel, is just kind of craptastic. And I don't know. I've of all the phases that they've done, this to me is probably the weakest so far. I just don't see a real strong point to like where are they going and what are they doing. I guess the multiverse is a theme, but it doesn't feel like a strong theme to me.
Well, this was the first movie in Phase 4 that really didn't have a multiverse.
Is it? Black Widow didn't have the multiverse.
Well, I think that was like the last of the non-multiverse ones. But I mean, was it Spider-Man 2? They kind of talked about it. Oh, Spider-Man, was it Far From Home? They started talking about it, and then after that, it started to become a thing.
I don't know. Eternals? Is that? I don't feel like Eternals was a multiverse movie. Shang-Chi, they went to another dimension. Does that count as a multiverse? I don't know.
But the multiverse is supposed to be the big thing for this phase. So.
Yeah.
I know. I've got to get Feige on the show.
Not like it has to be in every movie, but it just, I don't know. I just feel like this is the weakest. If you look back at like the other, and maybe it's the characters too, I mean, they don't have Iron Man and Captain America and, whatever to play with right now, the Avengers. So they're kind of throwing out some characters that are lesser known.
Well, it's kind of rough when you start the whole thing with your biggest characters and then you get rid of all of them.
Yeah.
Then where do you go? I mean, I would have rather they recast. We get new Bonds every once in a while or whatever. It's like, well, I mean, it would be really hard to replace Robert Downey Jr., but you still need Iron Man in the MCU.
Yeah,
or
but
should have Iron Man in the MCU.
What are you saying, that he doesn't die in Endgame?
No, I mean, they would have to, it's a multiverse. They can bring anybody back as Iron Man.
Just bring him from Earth 215. Come on.
I don't know.
But I mean, maybe they don't kill him off. Maybe he survives or whatever. But, Robert Downey Jr. didn't want to do it anymore, so he wanted to kill off Tony Stark. But, maybe you don't say, okay, if you guys don't want to do it anymore, you don't have to tell us to kill off our characters. We still need our characters.
Well, but I think
so maybe we recast them.
Thematically, they wanted to kill off Iron Man because the whole thing started out like,
with
Cap said to him, he was the one who started it. Cap was like, oh, you're not the guy to make the sacrifice play and all that. And what did he do at the end? He sacrificed himself. So I think that, and then Cap is the one who everybody thought was, he kept trying so many times to give up his life and he failed. And then finally he goes off and lives the life. He lives a life that he always wanted.
But now you have Sam Wilson as Captain America.
Yeah.
So you still have a Captain America coming up.
There's a Captain America. They don't have him on the slate they don't have a Cap movie on the slate for.
Well, I read somewhere.
Yeah, they were just saying they just picked a director and they're getting ready to shoot.
Yeah, I read something about that. As far as like multiverse, I know it's not a movie, but I loved the Hawkeye series on Disney Plus. Didn't have anything to do with multiverse this or that, and it really spoke to me, kind of like on the Obi-Wan level, where you're not the person you were like 10 years ago. Anyway, that didn't have the multiverse, but with Miss Marvel, very much made for a younger audience, I'll admit. But, hey, I do a podcast. I got to watch this stuff. I got to speak about it. They do have a version of the multiverse where these djinns are, traveling from and the power, the bracelet and stuff. And we'll see what happens. What is it? Ant-Man's coming up next, and that will be a proper movie, right?
Black Panther, I think, is next in November. And then
Panther's next. Okay.
Ant-Man and the Wasp is in February of next year.
Oh.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is also in 2023, and then The Marvels is ending the last one in 2023.
Well, we get the Groot series and the Christmas special, the Guardians Christmas special between then. So and then She-Hulk
is
I think,
coming up
right?
pretty soon, right?
Yeah. I mean, the television series I feel have been sort of hit and miss. I mean, WandaVision started slow but ended really strong. Falcon and the Winter Soldier I thought was a little uneven but entertaining. Loki, I had a hard time getting into. I really had a hard time with that. Hawkeye, I liked Hawkeye. Moon Knight, I had a difficult time with.
Moon Knight, yep, I agree with you on that.
And Ms. Marvel, I'm trying to watch, but like you said, Larry, I kind of feel like it's not really
try harder,
aimed
Beta.
at
You
me.
can do it, Beta.
Yes, you can do it, Beta. It is well made. I recognize it's well made, and I like a lot of the things they're doing with graphics in the live action, but it's a little hard for me to.
Well, so if you have like a 6-episode series about Ms. Marvel, you can't have her become Ms. Marvel like in the 6th episode. It's like, come on. That's why I always hated origin stories.
Well, and apparently she's going to be in the Captain Marvel 2 movie.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like,
Thor, she was in the marquee, right? With Iron Man and Hulk, and there was Ms. Marvel. Or,
Captain
Ms. Marvel. So she's part of it.
But, like I say, origin stories, do them quick, get them over with, and get the hero out there. But, yeah, I mean, she's fumbling around, but she's not really Ms. Marvel yet. And we only have 1 episode to go as of this recording.
Yeah.
Same with Moon Knight. It's like, okay, when's Moon Knight going to be in this thing?
Yeah, I think with Moon Knight, they really wanted to explore the whole mental,
split personality.
That's what they used to call it. I don't know what the right term is anymore. But which was somewhat interesting. But yeah, as a superhero fan, I kind of want to see the character in the costume. I did like the interaction with his god Khonshu, but yeah, for me, it was a mixed bag. Yeah, I don't know. They do. I think they have some interesting characters out there still. Even though, some of the major characters are gone. I'm a little worried about what's going to happen with Black Panther now that Chadwick Boseman is gone. I kind of wish they'd just recast so we would still have T'Challa in the Marvel Universe.
But see, that goes back to Bob's point about recasting Cap and Tony Stark then.
It's a different situation. The actor passed. The character didn't pass in the story. There's no storyline that said that the character passed. I mean, Iron Man passed because that was the cycle they were building towards, and plus, yeah, Robert Downey Jr. probably didn't want to play him anymore, but I think it makes sense thematically. They knew they were building towards this as they, wrote everything towards Endgame.
I hate using DC as an example, but how many Batmans have there been? How many Supermans have there been?
Well,
it's like an actor leaves, it's like, oh, bring another one in. Okay, here's a new version.
And it looks like they're going to need a Flash.
How many Spider-Mans have there been?
Let's not even talk about that Flash movie.
Oh my God, I don't even know we're going to see that Flash movie.
I can't imagine we would. That guy has gone so off the rails, it's not even funny.
It's pretty scary, actually.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. They just should have went with Grant Gustin from the beginning.
Yeah. So, well, folks, as you can tell, we're kind of putting in some filler here for this episode. So,
I like to think of it as meandering. We like to talk about a lot of different things on the show.
Well, at least we're still talking about the MCU and that.
True.
So let me ask you guys, what, based on who's gone and who's left and whatever, what do you think the Avengers lineup should be?
Well,
because they're going to make another Avengers movie, so who should be in the Avengers?
I think Captain America, Sam Wilson, should be in it. If we could get a Thor that's not, is he doing the splits all the time? That would be nice. Let's see, who else do we have left?
Hawkeye's still around. Ant-Man's still around.
I think Hawkeye's semi-retired is my feeling.
You could bring in that gal, though, that's going to take his place.
Oh, yeah, we could bring in the young one. Well, I know they're kind of edging towards young Avengers, so...
exactly, I was going to say that, Walker. We're going to get like a young Avengers. Maybe Black Widow's sister.
But I also hear that they're thinking of doing sort of a Thunderbolts team with her and John Walker and I don't know who else, Baron Zemo. So
what do you think? Can we get Hercules into the Avengers? He was an Avenger for a long time.
Maybe. So that was interesting. The two end scenes, right? And I, what is strange, of all the things in the movie that I could hate on, I didn't hate on Russell Crowe's Zeus. Because, if they were going to go absurd with something, I'm okay with them going absurd with Zeus, because you figure, Zeus has been around all this time. He's a philanderer. He's kind of, he's not, a drunken god, but he fools around and he just kind of, he's the top cat and does whatever he wants. And he was doing sort of a weird mix of sort of a Hollywood Greek / Italian thing. I did kind of like when he landed next to Thor and he called him baby cakes. But he was sort of like this corrupt old guy, like a corrupt old businessman, and he's like, listen, I got a good thing going here. Yes, I'm scared of this guy, but don't freak everybody out. I got a plan and don't blow it for me, that kind of thing. And that part I actually kind of liked. But I don't know. Now they're going to bring Hercules in. So what's his personality going to be like? Because Thor basically has Hercules' personality from the comics. Right. So I don't know. What are they going to do?
We'll see.
They're just going to be riffing back and forth.
In Thor shits and giggles.
They need to pay me for that title, by the way. Marvel, if you're out there.
I will forever refer to that 5th film as shits and giggles. I don't know. I like the actor that they cast from Ted Lasso.
I've never seen the guy before.
Oh my god!
Yeah, no idea who he was.
Yeah.
No, he's a really, really good actor. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about him. He's one of the writers for Ted Lasso too.
But now, how long is he going to have to wait to be in the movie?
I don't know. If they, fast forward through this like they did after Endgame, not that long at all.
Because Taika Waititi doesn't want to jump into the next one anytime soon. He's going over to do Star Wars, right?
Got some Star Wars to work on. Look, who's to say that Hercules won't show up in an MCU TV spot as a guest?
Well, this guy, is he going to have to work out, or is he already muscly? Because they showed him real fast. I couldn't really get a... He's
not Chris Hemsworth muscly, but he plays a soccer player in Ted Lasso. So he's tall, and he is not hunky, but he's got a physique.
Well, if he's going to be Hercules, he's got to be kind of buff.
Well,
He's better start eating chicken 6 times a day and hitting the gym.
Hey, Hercules wasn't that buffed in Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah, the MCU. That's and here's the thing, Walker. You're probably going to be disappointed with the MCU movie version of Hercules, but not Black Adam over on DC's side of the house.
I'll tell you what, I don't even know if I'm going to see Black Adam. That looks like such a shit burger already.
What?
Yeah. It just doesn't look very good. I'm sorry, Lair. It just looks...
The older we get, my friend, the more we diverse from our opines of films and TV shows.
On one hand, I was just thinking, like, I am glad there's all these options to view stuff, because, like, you know, I just got back from Canada. I haven't even seen the last 2 episodes of Stranger Things, and then Westworld is on, and all this other stuff. So there's all these things to watch, right? And, like, who knew? Like, there's no way I would have ever thought there would be a Moon Knight TV show or anything like that. So I have to remind myself to be grateful that, you know, geekdom took over the world, and we have all these things to see. And yes, they're not always going to be exactly what we want them to be, or the quality might not be. But, you know, we used to watch Lou Ferrigno in slippers, you know, painted green. So, hey.
I will say, when I go to the movies, you know, you show me a good amount of kung fu and dynamite, and I'm there. Story, okay, that kind of helps a little. Whereas Walker's like, where's the story? How is that going to support this character's decision to make that move?
That's what I want. I want a good story, and then I don't like. I get so pissed at these punks that come on like Twitter or whatever. You know who you are if you're listening. And like,
yeah, let's drive that audience away.
Yeah, I don't care.
Not that we don't love you guys.
They'll rag on classic Star Trek for the effects. Like they were talking about Arena the other day, and like, oh, that crappy rubber suit, blah, blah, blah. It's like, the story is what's important, people. Did you watch the episode and understand that, you know, Kirk at the end was able to feel mercy and compassion for this creature that, yeah, you know, it's like, I know it's a rubber suit, but you know what? It was 1966, okay? Get over it. And watch the story and understand the story. That's always the important thing to me. If you have a good story, you'll suck me in. And I don't care about, you know, all the effects and much.
Twitter friends, that's why I'm not going to say anything. I don't want Walker to block me on the Twitters.
Hey, I unblocked you.
Okay. Thank you. You know, we should do a podcast about like story and effects and whatever, and what really matters to us. This is kind of interesting.
It would, yeah. We could pull that together. That'd be a good quick episode.
That would be a good quick episode. All right. Any last minute comments for Thor: Love and Thunder?
I want a magical weapon and/or tool that will change my clothing for me.
Here's the thing that got me before we end this. You know, they fought to get an army of gods. They fought to get that bolt. And they didn't even use the bolt till like the very, very end of the thing. And, you know, it wasn't like this like gauntlet, you know, infinity gauntlet. It was just like, yeah, okay, parlay with the sword. And I'm like, mm-hmm. And this is the guy who doesn't care about story, kids.
Yeah.
So, you know, hey.
There you go.
Well, I mean, in the final act, though, I mean, see, I kept expecting Thor, you know, as soon as Jane Foster was having her problems, I was totally expecting him to grab Mjolnir. And, okay, he's got it back. And he didn't get it back until, spoiler alert, the very last scene of the film, where basically Gorr's daughter, Love, has Stormbreaker, and Thor's got Mjolnir back, and they're running off into battle. So, but he's got a glowing Mjolnir with a bunch of crayon stuff on the side.
Poor Karen.
He's got a bedazzled Mjolnir.
Well, I just don't know now. What are they going to do with the kid? Is she going to be in all the movies moving forward?
Of course.
She'd have to be, right? He's supposed to be taking care of her.
It's Chris Hemsworth's daughter, too.
Oh, is it?
So now he's making even more money. Making more money.
Double dipping.
You bet your sweet caboose she's going to be in the rest of those films.
And then when they showed Thor, like, growing up, and he's running through the forest, I think one of those kids was like his son.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
it's a family affair.
Well, hey, the goats are off of Robert Downey's farm, so, you know.
We barely even talked about the goats.
I have it on good authority that the next Thor movie is going to have Hercules and Thor as a frog from what I've read. So, kidding. I'm kidding, kids. I'm kidding.
Actually, the name of the goats was Shits and Giggles.
That was a good one. Yeah. I like that the goats were, the screaming goats on YouTube, not, these godly titan, animals that traverse the galaxy. So. Anywho, okay, kids. So it is that time in the program, the podcast, where we talk about things that have come into our existence, things that have come into our multiverse, into Earth 313. Yeah, see all those tie-ins I'm doing there?
Yeah.
And yours truly, your mission commander, well, actually, Chief Engineer Bob has one of these bad boys, too. This is the Ghidra, or Ghidorah. Bob, which is the proper pronunciation of that?
I thought it was interesting. I mean, the proper is King Ghidorah. But
King Ghidorah.
When the movie came out, over here in the 60s, they dropped the O. So it was Ghidra, the three-headed monster.
Yeah, that's how I always heard it.
And that's what's on the box.
I was going to say, Bob, that's what's on the box.
The original logo from the old 60s American version of the film, Ghidra, the three-headed monster. So on the box of the tiki mug is Ghidra, or it was Ghidrah, I think.
Yeah.
Ghidra.
Okay, so this is what's weird, Bob, is that it says Ghidra, the three-headed monster, without the O, but then below that, it's King Ghidorah Showa era ceramic tiki mug.
Right. Well, Showa era is basically the movies up to 74 when they did, or 75 when they did Terror Mechagodzilla. That's the Showa period of films.
Yeah.
So
who makes this mug?
Mondo, our good friends at Mondo. And this mug is a titan among tiki mugs.
It's a biggie.
It is indeed. I don't have the information here, but if you go to mondoshop.com, it'll tell you how big this thing is. And, your mission commander is in the process of moving mobile command. And so I have not unboxed this, but Chief Engineer Bob earlier showed us, well, you guys, we're not doing a video feed tonight.
I unbox everything.
Yeah. One of these nights we need to do a video feed for our podcast audience. But anyway, it's a very nice tiki mug indeed if you get a chance. Mondo just does quality work. It's funny. It's an inside joke here at Planet 8. We always order these things from Mondo, and then weeks and weeks, if not a month or a year later, we get something in the mail.
After you forget you ordered it.
Right. And it's like,
oh, look what came in the mail. I guess I ordered that at some point.
It's Christmas.
I ordered that in 1972.
But speaking of giant kaiju monsters, Chief Engineer, did you have something?
Big rubber monsters.
That's right.
As I've mentioned on the show, we do have Godzilla Fest coming up in August 12th, 13th, and 14th. And not only is it Godzilla Fest, but it's Gamera Crash's Godzilla Fest. So the original Mutant Ninja Turtle is coming in for an appearance. And the reason I bring this up is because we're doing Creatures Con on August 7th at the Concord Hill.
Yes, we are.
And we are going to be, I am going to be selling Godzilla Fest passes at the Planet 8 table for $10 off, $10 cheaper than you can get them if you go to the theater or go online.
Yowza.
So it'll be a bargain. So you can come on up to the table, talk to the crew, come on over, buy passes for Godzilla Fest, save money. The more you buy, the more you save, right?
That's right. Hey, and we're going to have fabulous prizes to give away off of our Planet 8 Plinko board, so be prepared, kids. We've spared no expense.
Since Commander Larry is moving the mobile Mobile headquarters.
Mobile command.
He's got to jettison some flaxum and.
That's right, kids. You're going to see a lot of the movies that we've talked about here on Planet 8, and some that we've yet, because, we've only come 100 episodes. We still got a few hundred left in us,
right.
So.
Might be a few things to talk about yet.
A little bit.
So it'll be you can buy Godzilla Fest passes, and you can come to the Commander Larry garage sale. And who knows what you'll walk away with from Creatures Con.
All right, kids. Well, as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you guys listening to us, spreading the good word of Planet 8. We sure as heck hope to see you at Creatures Con. Stop by the table at the Godzilla Fest at the Balboa. And you guys stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Peace out.
On that note, this will conclude this transmission from Planet 8. We would like to thank all of our intergalactic audience for listening. Be sure to head on over to our website at www.planet8podcast.com, where you can get more information on this episode's topic.
For more conversation, find us on Twitter at Planet8Cast.
Or on Facebook at facebook.com/Planet8Podcast.
We want to thank you guys for tuning in each and every episode. We look forward to your input and opinions. Until next time, this is Planet 8 signing off. End transmission.
By George, he's got it. It is the end.
Cross the rainbow bridge of